The silence inside Villa Altair was a lie. Outside, 60-mile-per-hour winds were tearing through the Alps. Inside, a different kind of storm was brewing. And unlike the weather, this one had nowhere to go. Elena Carson paced the length of the minimalist living room, her heels clicking against the polished concrete like countdown ticks. Click, click, click. She stopped abruptly at the massive oak front door and rattled the handle again. Locked tight. She pulled her phone from her white silk blazer. Dead zone, she hissed, her voice trembling with frustration. Absolutely nothing. We are in a black hole. Across the room, sprawled on a dark Italian leather sofa as if he owned the place, was Damon Kincaid. He was the polar opposite of Elena. Where she was kinetic energy and sharp angles, he was predatory stillness. He swirled amber liquid in a crystal glass, watching her with gray eyes that gave nothing away. "Sit down, Carson," Damon said. His voice was a low baritone that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor, and considering this villa lists for $50 million, I doubt the landlord will appreciate the damage." Elena spun on her heels, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at him. "This is your doing, isn't it, Kincaid? The ghost investor? The meeting in the middle of nowhere? You set this up to keep me away from the merger talks in New York tomorrow." Damon took a slow sip of his whiskey. He didn't even blink. "You overestimate yourself, Elena. If I wanted you out of the picture, I'd just buy the building your company sits in and turn it into a parking lot. I don't need to kidnap you to beat you." They were the two deadliest sharks in the tech industry. Elena Carson, the brilliant, defensive CEO of Verde Tech. Damon Kincaid, the ruthless head of Kincaid Global. For 3 years, they had traded lawsuits like Christmas cards. They hated each other, but Forbes magazine missed one detail in their cover story about their rivalry, the way the air seemed to get thinner whenever they were in the same room. "Mr. Sterling isn't coming," Elena realized, looking at the whiteout outside. "He lured us here and left us stranded." "Sharp," Damon murmured, standing up. The room seemed to shrink instantly. He was broad-shouldered, imposing, wearing a black bespoke suit that screamed old money. He walked to the bar and poured a second glass. "He wants us to talk. No lawyers, no press, just us." He held the glass out to her. "Drink. It'll warm you up." Elena looked at the glass like it was poison. "I don't want your whiskey, Damon. I want out." "Look outside, Elena," he said, gesturing to the glass wall. "You aren't going anywhere. The road is buried under 6 feet of snow. The backup generator is flickering. We're isolated." He took a step toward her, invading her personal space. The scent of him, sandalwood, rain, and expensive tobacco, hit her like a physical wave. "You're stuck with me, sweetheart. And the night is just getting started." The temperature in the villa began to plummet. With the main power grid down, the modern heating system died with a mechanical groan. Elena crossed her arms, rubbing her hands over the sleeves of her thin blazer. She was shivering, but she'd die before she admitted it to him. "It's getting cold," she muttered, teeth chattering slightly. "Brilliant observation," Damon drawled, but his eyes narrowed as he saw the tremor in her shoulders. He set his glass down and started unbuttoning his suit jacket. "What are you doing?" Elena asked, stepping back, alarmed. "Kincaid, if you think—" "Don't flatter yourself, Carson." He cut her off. He shrugged off the heavy wool jacket. "You're freezing. Your lips are turning blue. And I'd prefer not to explain to the police why my biggest rival died of hypothermia on my watch. Bad for stock prices." He held the jacket out. "Put it on." Elena stared at the jacket. Was it a peace offering or a power move? "I don't need your charity," she said, chin high. Damon let out an impatient sigh. In one fluid motion, he bypassed the coffee table and stood right in front of her. Before she could protest, he draped the jacket over her shoulders. His body heat was still trapped in the fabric. The weight of it enveloped her, and Elena had to fight the instinct to close her eyes and bury her face in it. "It's not charity," Damon said quietly, his voice losing its sharp edge. He was too close. She could see the flecks of silver in his irises. "It's survival. Stay warm, Elena. I need you sharp when I buy your company tomorrow." The taunt was there, but it lacked venom. Elena gripped the lapels of his jacket, pulling it tighter. "Never," she whispered, looking up at him. "I will never sell to you." Damon held her gaze. Something was burning behind those gray eyes. It wasn't hate. It was dangerous. "We'll see," he said. "But first, we have to survive the night." Suddenly a loud crack echoed from the entryway. The wind had forced the latch. Elena turned to see snow drifting through a crack in the heavy door. "The door!" she shouted, sprinting toward it. "The latch gave way. If I can get it open, maybe I can make it to the car." She grabbed the freezing metal handle, adrenaline clouding her judgment. "Elena, no!" Damon's voice was a thunderclap. "Don't open that door." She didn't listen. She was desperate to escape him. The tension, that intoxicating smell of sandalwood. She turned the handle. The door exploded inward, kicked open by the wind. A white wall of ice and snow blasted her in the face, blinding her instantly. The cold was brutal, cutting like knives. She stumbled back, coughing, trying to push the door against the force of nature, but the gale was too strong. "Help me!" she screamed, slipping on the snow, invading the hall. A strong arm wrapped around her waist, yanking her back with raw power. Damon. He threw her clear of the entrance and used his entire body weight to slam the oak. Door against the blizzard. Veins popped in his neck. With a roar of effort, he forced it shut, threw the manual deadbolt, and slid a heavy security chain into place. Silence returned, broken only by their ragged breathing. Elena was on the floor, trembling, snow in her hair. Damon was leaning against the door, chest heaving, his white dress shirt now soaked with melting snow, clinging to his chest. He looked at her. He looked furious. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a heavy antique gold key, the only key to that manual deadbolt, and held it up. "You are reckless," he growled. "You would have been dead in 2 minutes out there." Elena scrambled up, wiping snow from her eyelashes. "Give me the key, Damon." He looked at the key, then he looked at her. With a slow, deliberate movement, he shoved the key deep into his pants pocket. "No," he said. "Damon," Elena warned, stepping forward. "Unlock it. I want to try for the road." "You aren't going anywhere," he said, pushing off the door and stalking toward her, forcing her to back up until her spine hit the cold hallway wall. He planted his hands on the wall, one on each side of her head, caging her in. His body radiated heat. "I just locked you in, Elena, and that door only opens if I say so." The hallway was freezing, but the air between them was scorching hot. Elena was pressed against the wall, trapped not by the lock, but by Damon's body. He was a solid wall of heat and expensive wool, looming over her. His hands were still planted on the wall on either side of her head. He wasn't touching her, not yet, but the restraint in his muscles was terrifying. Elena looked up at him. Her chest was heaving. She wanted to scratch his eyes out. She wanted to pull him closer. The line between the two was blurring fast. "You're a maniac," Elena whispered, her voice breathless. "You think you own everything. My company, my time, now my freedom?" Damon lowered his head. His eyes dropped to her lips, then snapped back to her. Eyes. "I don't want to own your freedom, Elena. I want to stop you from killing yourself in a snowstorm just to avoid a conversation with me." "We don't have conversations, Damon," she yelled, finally pushing her hands against his chest. "We have lawsuits. We have hostile takeovers. You've spent 3 years trying to bury Vertitech." She shoved him. He didn't budge. "I wasn't trying to bury it," Damon said, his voice dropping to a low, rough growl. "Liar!" She hit his chest again, harder this time. Tears of frustration pricked her eyes. "You offered a buyout to dismantle my research division. You wanted to erase my legacy. I wanted to merge it," he shouted back, finally losing his cool. He grabbed her wrists, not to hurt her, but to stop her assault. He pinned them against the wall, effectively immobilizing her. Their faces were inches apart. "I didn't offer the buyout to kill your company, Elena," he breathed, the truth tearing out of him. "I did it because you're the only person in this industry who isn't afraid of me, and buying your company was the only excuse I had to keep you in my life. If your heart just skipped a beat, you're already hooked. Subscribe to see if they kiss or kill each other. Don't leave us hanging." The silence that followed was louder than the storm outside. Elena stared at him, stunned, her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. "You," she stammered. "You're obsessed with me." Damon let out a short, dark laugh. He released her wrists, but he didn't step back. His hand moved up, his thumb grazing her jawline. His skin was rough, calloused, contrasting with the softness of her neck. "Obsessed? No, I'm captivated, Elena. I have been since the day you walked into that conference in Geneva and told the chairman he was an idiot." He leaned in slowly, agonizingly slowly. He stopped millimeters from her lips, close enough that they were breathing the same air. Elena's breath hitched. She could feel the heat radiating off him, melting, the last of the ice in her veins. "I don't hate you," Damon whispered, his voice rough with restraint. His eyes dropped to her mouth, darkening. "I hate that you're on the other side of the table, and I hate that it's taken me 3 years to get you this close." The air crackled between them. Elena felt her defenses crumbling, turning into ash. The cold, the fear, the anger, it all vanished, replaced by a terrifying white-hot need. She looked up at him, her eyes challenging, daring. "Prove it," she whispered. Damon didn't hesitate. He crashed his lips onto hers. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was hungry, desperate, and possessive. It tasted like 3 years of arguments and suppressed desire. Elena made a sound in her throat, a whimper of surrender, and wrapped her arms around his neck, tangling her fingers in his dark hair. He groaned, lifting her effortlessly until her legs wrapped around his waist. He carried her away from the cold door, toward the warmth of the living room, neither of them breaking the kiss. The storm raged outside, but inside, the real hurricane had just made landfall. The sun hitting the snow was blinding. The storm had passed during the night, leaving the world buried in a pristine white blanket. Inside the villa, the fire had burned down to embers. Elena woke up on the leather sofa. She was covered by Damon's suit jacket and a thick fur throw. She blinked, disoriented. Then the memories of the night flooded back. The argument, the confession, the way he had looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She sat up. Damon was standing by the panoramic window looking out at the mountains. He was wearing his dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, the top buttons undone. He held 2 mugs of coffee. He heard her move and turned around. For a second, the CEO mask was back in place. That cool, unreadable expression. Elena's stomach dropped. Had it been a mistake? Then he smiled. It was a small, genuine smile that didn't reach the tabloids. "Coffee," he said, walking over. "Black. No sugar. Just how you like it." Elena took the mug. "You remembered." "I remember everything about you, Carson," he said softly. He sat on the edge of the coffee table facing her. "The snowplows are coming," he said. "We have maybe an hour before we go back to the real world." Elena looked into her coffee. "What happens then? Do we go back to suing each other?" Damon reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm withdrawing the hostile takeover bid." Elena looked up, shocked. "You are?" "Yes, I'm proposing a partnership instead. A joint venture." He smirked, the arrogant glint returning to his eyes. 50-50 split. "But I want a clause in the contract." "What clause?" she asked suspiciously. Damon smirked, the arrogant glint returning to his eyes. "Clause 14, Section B, mandatory weekly strategy meetings, private location, Friday nights. Attendance is non-negotiable." Elena smiled, a slow, dangerous curve of her lips. She understood the language perfectly. It was perfect. "I'll have my legal team look it over," she teased. "But I think we can come to an agreement." She leaned forward and kissed him, softly this time. "A promise. Just don't lock me in a house again, Kincaid." "No promises," he whispered against her lips. When the rescue team arrived, they found 2 CEOs discussing market strategies, perfectly composed. But as they walked to the waiting helicopter, Damon placed his hand on the small of Elena's back. It was a possessive, protective gesture, and for the first time in history, Elena Carson didn't pull away. She leaned into it. They went up the mountain as rivals. They came down as something unstoppable, and the world had no idea what was about to hit them. They say there's a thin line between love and hate. Elena and Damon just erased it. If you think they make a power couple, type partners in the comments. And if you want more stories where passion breaks the rules, subscribe now. You don't want to miss what happens next.